most powerful force in the world is capitalism. Capitalism makes everything happen. Back in the 70s, they started to measure the percentage of GDP in the US that goes to charity. It was 2% in the 70s. It's 2% today. It has never statistically deviated. These are people that are tasked with solving the world's most pressing problems. But as a society, we don't think they should get paid any money.
Every person on this planet has the capability to change the world on a daily basis.
The first question most people ask when they donate is,
What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
In case you missed it,
I really do believe people will have more gratefulness and appreciation. If you don't have your health, it doesn't matter what else is going on in your world. I think time is our most valuable, non-renewable resource.
And it wasn't until I realized.
Available everywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Welcome back to Impact Heroes. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to our latest iSpark Change social impact hero, and he is someone that you are going to want to meet. Our guest today is an innovative leader and social impact visionary who creates an atmosphere of excitement and inclusion for everyone around him. He's an expert in leveraging a for-profit business to affect meaningful change within nonprofits whose focus and determination are uncanny. He's creative, bold, and insightful in leading others, and he always holds himself more accountable than anyone else. Super important as a leader, by the way. He has spearheaded efforts that have generated over $500 million in incremental funds for over 5,000 charities. Wow, that's incredible. And he has a laser focus on compelling people to give in new ways while building an excellent team that has unlocked those millions of dollars, new dollars, by the way, for charity, driving substantial growth and diversifying revenue streams. All the while, he's led his company to achieve a 2.5x increase in revenue while successfully transforming it into a profitable enterprise. Incredible and not easy. He's intelligent, responsible, and dynamic, and an all-around great human being. Please welcome the inspiring strategic visionary leader and CEO of Charitybuzz, Ben Erwin. Ben, welcome to the iSpark Change podcast.
that was a great intro, Rick. You made me blush. Really great to be here.
Well, thank you for that. That is always my intent. Well, I don't know if blushing is the intent, but to do right by my guests. And I think I've said this one other time on the show, Ben, is that if you ever have seen like those medieval movies where they would have the person who introduces the king or the knight, and they come out and they introduce them and they have to, they want to say how great they are and everything. That's what I want to do with my guests. So I'm glad that you appreciate the intro. Yeah. And the other thing I'll say is, hey, it's your story. So I was just reading it. So all of that is true, by the way. So
Still tough to hear somebody else say it. Yeah, I'm modest, and it's great to hear. But yeah, I think you did a good job emulating the medieval times. Like the guys coming out with the horns,
yes,
and the flags going everywhere. I just don't picture myself as the king coming out on his throne, but I'll take it for this conversation.
All right, perfect. So Ben, we see you as someone who's spreading positive change in the world because your actions have that positive effect on humanity, what we call a social impact hero by our definition. Now, we'll get to some of the points of that acronym throughout our conversation, but I have to start out with the first question that we ask every guest on the iSpark Change podcast, because we see you as someone that we call a social impact hero. The question I have for you is, do you see yourself as a hero?
I don't. I've never even thought about that question. If I had to think about who is a hero in my world, it would be the individuals and organizations that we support, people that have committed their lives to a really important mission. It's not easy working in the charity sector. So the people that choose to do it are doing it for usually personal reasons. I mean, it's altruism in its most perfect form. So those are the heroes. Our job is to figure out ways to get them new money, new donors, and kind of equip them so they can go be more heroic and hopefully solve the mission that their organization focuses on.
Yeah, and I would add, thank you for sharing that. And I would add, Ben, that I would categorize them all as heroes as well. So yes, by virtue of our definition, which, as I said, just to give you an idea of our definition of hero, is someone that honors their purpose, someone that engages their audience in their mission, someone that ripples their message to others to spread that positive change, and someone who opens their heart to the world. And so by that definition, the people that are working within those organizations, yes, absolutely, they're doing exactly that. And I've had about, I think we're in like 160 or 170 episodes in, and we've had lots of people that run nonprofits and run various types of organizations, and that are doing amazing things, as I'm sure you see every day. So you didn't just stumble into, or well, maybe you did, but you didn't just stumble into doing that work. So every hero has their origin story. So tell our audience, how did you become the CEO at Charitybuzz, and how did you get interested in doing that type of impactful work? And was that always something that you were interested in?
Yeah, so I grew up in Connecticut, right outside New York. Great upbringing, great parents, great family, and purpose or giving back to the community was always something we focused on. My mom went to Berkeley during the progressive movement. My dad served in the Navy. I remember I was part of a club called Youth Ending Hunger in high school. It was always just something that attracted me to engage. But then when I went to college, I went to school in DC, my whole plan was to become a lawyer. I just knew I wanted to become a lawyer. Everyone that I met said, you should be a lawyer. You've got the gift of gab. My parents always told me you really like to argue, so you might as well go get paid for it. And it wasn't until I got exposed to a lot of lawyers while in school doing political science pre-law that I started to second guess it and realize maybe law wasn't the absolute destination for me, and I should just start exploring other avenues. So then I would say I went into my ignorant phase, where I remember talking to my sister and saying, I'm just going to go get a job that makes the most amount of money, because the reason why we work is to make money, and I'll go make a bunch of money, and then I'll give some of the money back to charity, and I'll be able to check that box. And I still remember the car ride where she told me I was an idiot, because that's not how the world works, and you have a lot to learn. But I didn't listen to her. So I graduated GW and I started working in financial consulting sales. Sales had always been something I'd done throughout high school, college, again, helped me leverage my quote unquote gift of gab. And while it was a job where I got rewarded for hard work, it was, quota-based sales work. I realized really quickly that if this was going to be the future of my career, I wasn't going to be too happy of a guy. So I just remember that when you graduate college back when I did, which was in 2005, you kind of had two paths. You had the path to go join the for-profit world, make money, hopefully give some of it back, or join the NGO nonprofit world and not make any money. And so I chose the right path. And after about a year and a half, I decided it wasn't for me and that I had to go find something that really itched my passion and made me excited to go to work. And as I was looking around for other jobs, I stumbled upon actually Charitybuzz when it was just in its infancy, really just an idea, a couple people just trying to figure it out. And I just remember thinking, like, these were those two paths converging. This was a for-profit company, so there was still the ability to grow, scale, maybe make a couple bucks, but it really mattered. It had the chance to really support people in something that I could really passionately get behind. And I decided that I was going to become the director of business development. There were no roles. Again, it was 3-4 people. And I just said, I'm going to go for it. And I built out the whole sales plan, business development strategy, and really engrossed myself in the world of charities and fundraisers, learning about what their pains were, what they needed, what was going to really help them unlock more of the great stuff they were trying to do. And like 15, 16 years later, still here. Now I get the privilege to run the company, still chief salesperson, but a lot of other hats as well. And it's been a really, really fun, rewarding, stressful, and exciting ride all along.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And, just in doing some research for the episode, I can see, it's obviously grown a lot, and there's, a lot of cool things that you're working on. So tell me, Ben, I want to go back to something you said when you were just sharing a minute ago. You said that when you were, you had taken that one road right into the for-profit world, and what was it about the work you were doing, or the disconnect, or what was that drive to say, hey, I don't really fit here, or maybe there's more, or there's something else that I should be doing? Where did that really, what was the motivating factor there?
Yeah, so I definitely subscribe to the adage that hard work kind of is greater than everything else. You got to really hustle and put in the extra hours if you want to get ahead in whatever you're doing. But to have that fueled by passion versus necessity was, I think, really the clincher for me. So I would stay late. Again, I was in a sales role, so it was numbers driven. But I was finding it really hard to motivate me to be excited about putting in the extra hour, 2-3 hours every night, because what I was essentially selling, or who I was helping, didn't feel like was provided like real value. So I always think about, like, if I'm not here doing this job, or if this company's not here providing this service, does it really make a difference one way or the other? And my conclusion was no, doesn't really matter. So that leaves you in a place where there's not a lot of purpose in what you're doing every day. So that led me to really crave a role where I knew that if I didn't succeed, or I wasn't able to be successful, that was going to have a negative impact on somebody or someone. And that's where, when I found Charitybuzz and learned more about what we were doing to support this really important sector, I got really excited, because what we do is we raise incremental dollars. The money we raise for charity without Charitybuzz would never go to charity. So now I ask myself that same question. If I had never done this, or this company would have never been created, hundreds of millions of less dollars would go to charity. So that's, in my opinion, not as good of a world as it is now, because I also believe in this particular role that if more money goes to charity, better outcomes happen for everybody. So that's a really simple but powerful way for me to want to put in more hours and keep hustling and work harder. And that was the disconnect I wasn't having when I first got out of school.
Yeah, I can completely relate to what you're saying, Ben, because I mean, we had similar paths in that, I was in sales, I was working hard, I was winning awards, driving success, but it was that same hard work motivation that I had learned from my father. And it wasn't, there was no altruism in there. It wasn't about helping people. It was very me centered. It was very me centered, and not, we centered, or helping others. And I had to learn that, I had to learn that as I got older and in my career, and shifted and really created that purpose in my life. So it sounds like there's two things I want to touch on. One, I do want you to explain the difference between incremental dollars, and I do want to get back to that, because I think that's important for our audience, because it wasn't something that I was really very familiar with, as I was having you come on the show. But before that, I want you to answer, so I used to think that purpose was something that we found, right? We found, like, oh, go find your purpose. And people saying, like, find your purpose and find what it is. And then I realized for myself that purpose is something that you have to create every day, that it is something that you create through the work that you do and the people you connect with, and that ripple effect that you talked about of you affecting this person that affects that, that person, and goes on. And we'll talk about that later in the show. But for you, what was purpose for you? It sounds like you are creating that purpose every day, and that you did find your purpose. So what would you define as your current purpose, and how did you really feel that you had a handle on what that is?
That's a really good question. So I can give a really good example. So I interview every single person that we hire as kind of like the last step. And the one thing I share with every single person that we hire is this: if at the end of a bad day, because no matter where you work, you're going to have a bad day, right? Campaign didn't go well, boss gets mad at you, you make a mistake. If you can go home, put your feet up and say, wow, that was a really stressful day, but I did it to support an organization that's funding a new clinical research drug for Parkinson's, or an organization that's feeding a really underserved community in their city. And that thought or that insight helps all of that stress kind of go away or be justified. If that's you, this is going to be a really good place for you to work. If that's not you, no judgments. Everybody has their own purpose and their own motivation. Then we're just going to say, nice to meet you, and you're not going to join the team, because in order to sustain here, that's kind of the magic thing that we offer, that we have this higher purpose or impact that we're able to generate by, we get to work with these individuals or these organizations that are doing incredible work, like really making the world better. And we become an integral part of what they do. We really feel like we become partners of theirs, extensions of their team. We get so deep into the work that they're doing because that's what motivates us to work harder, do better, and figure out whatever we can do to exceed their fundraising expectations. So I think that kind of sums up the impetus of the purpose. And then how I apply it is, I like to do things differently. I like to be creative and innovative. So in a world where there's been a very traditional way of fundraising, right? Hey, Rick, give me some money. Hey, Rick, it's the holidays, we need some more money. That should all continue. But how do we create ways for Rick to give more money? How do we compel Rick to say, I'm going to give 50% more money this year than I was planning to? And that's what we do through experiences and all of the fun and really unique opportunities that we offer up on Charitybuzz every single day. So I'd say it's two of those. It's what's the output I want, but more importantly, how am I going to generate the output? And I want to do it differently. I want to do it creatively, excitedly, so that you stay really enthusiastic about what you're doing, even though the causes we support are really serious. You put a smile on people's faces, but that smile ultimately results in more money going to organizations that can do more than put a smile on our face, but really help people, environments, issues progress forward.
That's it's interesting as you were sharing that, Ben, and thank you for explaining, really explaining, what's at the heart of your purpose, because what I hear is a lot of emotion behind that. What I hear is a lot of emotion behind not only the work that you do, but also the people that come on your team, and then also the people that donate to the charities, the people that support these different organizations that you have on Charitybuzz, and that capturing that emotion that is going to drive behavior is really kind of the secret sauce to moving people in the right direction and to making a difference. Because left to our own devices, I mean, human beings are lazy, and human beings will not take action. And if you're able to tap into that, then that's where the magic happens.
I think that's a really good point, Rick. I talk a lot about how you can be as idealistic as you want to be. Human beings should be more proactive. They should care more. They should do more. I agree. But the fact of the matter is, they're not. So it's, what can we do to help push that forward? We have to be realists. We have to understand the society and kind of the state that we're currently in, and how can we improve it given current internal and external factors, while still trying to push forward this like ideal future. But if all you do is focus on an ideal future, you miss what's happening right now and ways that you can understand people's motivations and help them move in the right direction. And what we do, again, by selling really cool experiences, in some cases, the motivation may not be to give money to charity. That's okay. Someone really wants to go meet their favorite celebrity or go on a extravagant vacation or you name it, because that's what they want to do. But with us, we're taking a portion of that money and we are sending it to charity. So regardless of the intention of that person, the outcome is the same. And that's the way that we can actually get more money to get into the hands of these charitable organizations. The craziest stat, I say this in every conversation because it still baffles my mind. Back in the 70s, they started to measure the percentage of GDP in the US that goes to charity. It was 2% in the 70s. It's 2% today. It has never statistically deviated. So the relative amount of money going to charity has not changed, but the number of charities in this country has multiplied by like 40x. So how do we
Jeez.
expect them to do what we want them to do when they're underpaid, when they can't even get the same slice of the pie? Like, clearly we got to do something different, or what's going to happen in 50 years from now? It's going to be 2%. It's kind of what you just said. Like, status quo is comfy. Status quo continues unless you figure out ways to influence it in whatever direction you want to do. And we try to do it in our little way, and it's working. We just need more companies and people to kind of join us to really change that 2% into a much more meaningful number.
Yeah, and it is working, and just by evidence of the growth that you've had and the success that you've had, and that's part of the reason why I created iSpark Change. So in 2020, when after I had gone through my own challenges and changes and awakening and written a book and decided to create iSpark Change, the motivating factor was that every person on this planet has the capability to change the world on a daily basis, that all of our actions do create that positive change that makes the world a better place. And so what I love about, what you've built and Charitybuzz is that you're taking things that people would do anyways, right? Like going to a concert or going on vacation. You're taking those things that they would do anyways, and those dollars that they would use anyways, and you're just shifting the way that, it funnels through the system in order to, to support charities. And so that's my simple way to explain it. So I do want you to explain how, and I guess an easy way to explain it would be explain how just your average person, can support something on Charitybuzz, or your average person can be more involved, and what it's really all about. I know we've talked about it, already, but explain it for just your average listener.
Yeah. So simply put, Charitybuzz is a marketplace, and we offer up the coolest stuff on the internet for good. So coolest stuff is subjective. So we're always trying to expand the catalog and the different types of ways people can get involved, so that we're able to always expand and increase that amount of money that's being generated. So the core product's an auction platform. That's where we started. Auctions and charity kind of go hand in hand. So we're always offering up really fun, unique opportunities, ranging from $800 to $1,000 all the way up to $1 million. I mean, it's a pretty wide range of opportunities, but for the most part, it's either, to your point, things that people are already going to be spending money on. So I mentioned 2% of GDP goes to charity. 25% of GDP is going to what they call non-essential activities: concerts, restaurants, travel, museums, cultural events. And that number is growing much, much quicker than the charity amount. So people are willing to spend money, but they're choosing to spend their money in different ways. Well, we're offering up what I would argue much cooler and more unique opportunities within that sector. And again, we're funneling a good portion of that money over. So anybody can join, check out what's going on. We're always adding new stuff. Everything from going out to dinner with George Clooney to a really, really unique collectible restaurant experience. Maybe go to Broadway, meet the cast afterwards. It kind of ranges. And what's really fun about Charitybuzz for anyone is there's nothing that we sell that A, you need, and B, that you've ever thought was possible. So what a lot of people end up doing is they'll join the newsletter, they'll consistently come back to the site, and they'll realize there are things that they really wanted to do that they never knew was possible. And that's how you compel people to give. Nobody has a budget every year of, all right, I'm going to put a bunch of money away so that my wife and I can visit the set of our favorite television show or go to SNL, because they never knew it was possible. But we offer those up. So then you create the urgency, the, oh my gosh, I never knew this was possible. I kind of have to act now, or I may never get the opportunity again. And then, of course, the fact that, oh, and this money is going to support a really good cause, that'll help me alleviate my guilt. So auction's the core piece. We also have a sweepstakes business. So let's say we're working with the Dave Matthews Band. They've got millions of fans. I don't know, a small percentage of those fans can spend $25,000, $50,000 to meet them, but they can all give $10, especially if it's to a cause that the band really supports, talks about quite a bit at their shows. And then one random winner gets to have the experience of a lifetime. We now have a store, so you don't have to wait for the auction to be over. Just, add to cart, check out, you get access to really cool things. And then we also have a private sales program, almost like a concierge membership club called Access. And that's for our super high net worth VIP customers. And that's where you can request something, right? Not on the site. Maybe you don't want to waste your time with an auction. My wife's birthday's coming up and her favorite musician is X, and I want them to come to our house and do a private performance. We'll broker that deal. We'll broker that deal in support of a really good cause. So for us, it's always figuring out how do we expand the inventory horizontally on top of different sales channels so that no matter who you are, what you're interested in, or your budget, you can, when you're compelled to give, we're removing any of the barriers that may cause you to say, no, I'll just try some other time.
Yeah, and making it simple. I mean, you say removing barriers, we talked about, driving people to action earlier. One of the easiest ways to drive people to action is to make it easy, to make it, inexpensive. So if, obviously there's things that are high dollar, and there's things that are, low cost that anyone can participate in. So that's going to, tap into that emotion that I referenced earlier. So one of the, in building businesses myself and, going through different challenges, I know none of this doesn't come without some difficulty. So what's been the biggest challenge, since you took over as CEO, or in building and growing Charitybuzz?
The pandemic. Yeah. So I took over as CEO in like late 18, early 19. And we had just gone through a strategic planning exercise, and we had like everything all set up for 2020. And then, an unexpected global pandemic happened. And when you think about our business, at that point, all we really did was sell intimate experiences surrounding large scale events. Mm-hmm. So all of our inventory got completely wiped out. Plus, we had thousands and thousands of experiences that were purchased in 2019 that were set to get fulfilled in 2020.
Oh.
So we had to delay. It was a customer service. It was an incredible job by our team to just work with our customers, have them be patient. And then we had a decision. And I remember this meeting I had with the team from this seat, because we were all remote at that point, right in March, saying, we could all just put our heads in our laps and say, wake us up when this is over. Like, we sell experiences. There's no experiences. This is a really good excuse to just not go for it. Or we can look to each other. We can look to our customers who are going through this just like we are, and we provide something that's fun and exciting. So maybe we give them a little escape of what's kind of going on around them. Mm-hmm. And we owe this to our charity partners, because charities probably got impacted by COVID more than anyone else. Yeah. Nobody was giving money, and the only organizations people were giving money to were organizations focused on COVID-19 related causes. Yep. It's this interesting dynamic where when the need increases, right? Like, all of the causes that were there before COVID still needed the money. Mm-hmm. Then you put this new huge need on top of it. It doesn't increase people's capacity to give, and it should. Like, things are worse. We should be giving more. So we just decided to go for it. Like, let's just run into every wall. Some of them are going to be concrete, and we're going to get a big bump on our head. But there's going to be a couple walls that are soft. They're just drywall. If we can run through those, we're going to figure it out. And the team came together. We did a lot of predictions that were all wrong of what consumer behavior was going to look like, of how long this thing was going to last. And we came out of it stronger than we got into it. 21 was our best year. We're a much better business now because we proved that we could pivot into different verticals that had to be focused on given the state of the world. But more importantly, we proved to ourselves that, like, if we just work together, we stay motivated, and we all are rowing in the same direction, if we can get through that, we can kind of get through anything. So it was horrible, but we decided to make the best of it, because I don't think you had any other decision.
Yeah. And you stuck to it, and you made it to the other side, and now you're better for it. So, kudos to you being at the helm, to have everybody rowing in the same direction. So one thing we talk about, Ben, on the program which I alluded to earlier, are those ripple effects that continue far beyond the initial act. So the term we use on our program is a spark moment. There are these spark moments in life where you have that initial act that's the spark moment, and then the ripple effect that continues far and beyond. So with the work that you do, it's literally a spark moment with every auction, with, everything. But I want you to share a positive example of a spark moment in your life where either someone impacted you or you impacted someone else, where you didn't really know that it was a spark moment at the time, but looking back, you're like, oh, wow, that had a big impact on my life.
Yeah, so it's my dad. So I have a really close relationship with my dad. And when I was first exposed to Charitybuzz, a couple years out of school, trying to like figure it all out, what do I want to do with my life? I was back home in Connecticut. I just found Charitybuzz, and it was an idea, it wasn't a business. And the summers were really, really slow because at that point in time, we only ran auctions around major galas. So fall and spring were good, but summer was dead. There was no money coming in. So I remember the founder at that time said, hey, you're doing a great job, but we don't have enough money to pay you for the next few months. So totally get it. Go find another job, or you can stick around and I'll try to make it up to you later. So I remember sitting down with my dad and just kind of talking to him about the whole situation, because I was bummed, because this was something that I really had, like, he could see the passion that I had for what we were doing. And he just said, just like, gut reaction, is this where you want to be? Is this the opportunity that's going to spark your passion and get you going? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, you can stay here so you won't have many expenses for the next few months. And if this is what you want to do, then you have to do it. I don't even think this is a conversation, because I think the decision is clear. And then I never turned back. I knew that was the right decision, and I continued on and helped grow the business, and we sold the business. I got to, again, lead the business now. And it was all that one conversation with my dad, who I always turn to whenever I have any difficult decision, personal or professional. And he always seems to guide me in the right direction.
And he did indeed that time. So a true example of a spark moment. Ben, thank you very much for sharing that. So before we wrap up with our final question, I know our audience will want to learn more about Charitybuzz and how to connect. So where's the best place for them to learn more about Charitybuzz and everything that's going on?
Yeah, if you just want to browse the site, you should join our newsletter. So just go to charitybuzz.com, sign up for our email on the footer. Keep checking back. Follow us on socials, Instagram being the best one. Again, one of the coolest things about what we do is new inventory comes on the site daily. So there's always something new and cool and fun that you could have never thought of. They'll appear on the site. So I would just urge you to check it out and just kind of stay tuned to see what's coming up. If you're a charity or somebody interested in donating experiences or stuff, that's charitybuzz.com/partners. Also, my email address is ben@charitybuzz.com. I take email responses really seriously. So if you email me, just mention the podcast in the title and I'll get back to you within 24 hours and refer you to a great member of the team. But yeah, I would just say reach out to learn more. There's so many different ways we can help organizations and people do good through our unique approach. And you're not going to know how to do it unless you talk to one of us, because we're the experts. So a conversation, it's free. And we love just to learn more too about all the cool work that y'all are working on.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we will make sure that we put everything in the show notes. And yeah, there are definitely some cool things. I mean, when I was browsing through there, I was like, whoa, oh yeah, that's it. Oh, and this, and you can do that. And you could do that. Like you said, all these things you would have never really thought of or, socked away money for. Yeah, definitely incredible. Well, so final question here that we ask all our guests on the iSpark Change podcast, Ben, because our goal at iSpark Change is to positively impact 1 billion people within 5 years of launching our upcoming social impact social media platform. Now, we know we can't do it alone. We know we need the help of impactful leaders like yourself to show others the way, because a lot of people feel, as I once did, that they're too small to make a difference. So we value your thoughts and opinions as a social impact hero. So I want you to peer into the future, peer into that, our crystal ball here, and tell me, what can the world become if everyone starts believing that they can impact our future and taking action?
Well, I mean, certainly a much more positive world. I can really speak to the place that I spend most of my time, which is the charity sector. And I think we need to completely rethink and maybe even rebrand the word charity and the way that we believe this sector should operate. I still believe it's akin to the Salvation Army volunteer during the holidays asking you to drop spare change in the bucket outside of Macy's. That's not a fair representation of this sector. These are people that are tasked with solving the world's most pressing problems. But as a society, we don't think they should get paid any money. The first question most people ask when they donate is 99 cents or more of this dollar going to the children or to the cause, which completely ignores the people that are working at these organizations, the overhead, that are busting their butts to make these organizations actually scalable and sustainable. So I think as a society, we need to treat them like, let's bring them to the parents' table. Let's stop sitting them at the kids' table. And let's start thinking of them the same way we think about for-profit organizations. They're just as important, maybe even more based on the work that they're doing. And we have to stop thinking about them in this way where we're tying their arms and legs behind their back. We're blindfolding them. And then we have the gall to criticize them for making too much money or not solving a problem. We could get a lot more talent, a lot more results into this space if we started thinking about more like we do social enterprises or for-profit businesses. And I believe if we're able to do that, what we can do is leverage the most powerful force in the world. The most powerful force in the world is capitalism. Capitalism makes everything happen. There's a lot of negative consequences of capitalism. We read about them all every day. But there's also, for everything negative, it's balanced by positive. If we could leverage capitalism for good, I believe that is one of the key ways we can help make a lot of this change happen faster, because we know with capitalism, things happen much quicker than without it. So again, let's be realists. Let's understand what motivates people, and let's just care about outputs. If the outputs are there, intentions aren't as important because we're getting what we need to be able to equip the right people to do what they need to do.
Yeah, very wise words indeed. And, it's similar to what we are working on with iSpark Change, because, using that capitalism for good and using it, to drive behavior that's going to make a positive difference for humanity. So, Ben, thank you for taking time to share your heart and wisdom with our audience. You came in and you over-delivered, as I knew you would. Your passion, drive, and impact are evident, and you're humble, passionate, and lead with a heart of service and gratitude, which tells me you're going to continue to have success with Charitybuzz and in all facets of life. And this is only the beginning of your time as a social impact hero.
Thanks, Rick. Really, really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me.
All right, Impact Heroes, it's our stories that connect us all, and we loved hearing Ben's today. Ben Erwin, you're not only an inspiring and amazing human being, you truly are an iSpark Change social impact hero. We'll see you all next time.
Do you want Rick to speak at your event? Here's what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
Performance made me feel some type of way. My name is Craig Siegel.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickcornelis.com to book him today.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.